Hey and welcome, Miss Kira Speaks. Please do your girl a favor and watch the video till the end. Hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We're back again for another episode of BMF Season 2, Episode 5, Moment of Truth. And I got this shirt on today. It's for Charles and his shenanigans. Oh yes, this one's for you, Charles. Once you taste the game, you never lose a sensation. And that is our opening quote from Terry. And we will see that reoccur later in this episode. So where do we want to start? Because my nose is kind of all over the place and I'm going to try not to make this one too long. So let's start with our good girl, Denise. Denise is at the police station and Bryant and Jen are giving her the business. She's caught with 3 keys. They're telling her how much a key and how much time she's going to get. And it's not looking good for you. And you know, you're a good upstanding citizen and you got a son and you're a mama. Don't do this to yourself. Are you helping to deal product with Demetrius and Terry Flynnery? I mean, they wasn't grilling her that hard, but they might as well have been. And just as it looked like Denise is about to buckle and sing like a bird, as Bryant said in the last episode, in comes Mo to the rescue. That's right, Monique, Meech's girl, mother of his child, whatever you want to call her. Now, Miss Thing is a paralegal, but she manages to get her way in there and get them out of the room to have a word or two with Miss Denise. So Mo tells her that she's going to have to do time no matter what. And that part surprised me because I said, what in the privilege? She's going to have to do jail time? Okay. So she's like, but you've got friends. And Denise is like, well, are these friends covering your services? Because she explains to her that she's not a lawyer, but she works for a law firm and all that good stuff. And she says, yes, they're going to cover her fee or the law firm's fee or whoever fee they need to cover, and that they will continue to provide for her and her son. Her son's tuition will be paid for and the whole 9. But basically she gotta eat the charges. Now, nobody wants to eat the charges, and I wouldn't want to eat the charges because I am not about to go to nobody's jail, but I wouldn't put myself in that predicament because she had asked Terry what she was doing and he never fully explained, but she still put her butt in that car and went to Lansing. Nobody asked me, but Monique is basically telling her, like, if they go to jail, this ain't gonna work out for nobody. So she tells her to go ahead and think about it. So now in the opening of the episode, we saw a flashback to Terry and Meech when they were younger. Nicole's in the back seat. Looks like they're taking a little family trip. They're laughing it up and all of a sudden they start to fighting in the back seat. Mom's trying to get them under control and she throws a song on and everybody's grooving and life is good. At the top of the episode, we flash forward to their present time where we see Terry and Meech listening to that very song as they are in the car on their way. What in the neighbors? If y'all can hear that, I'm not about to do that over. Anyway, they're in their car and we think they're headed to Atlanta, but first they gotta make a stop. And what's that stop? They gotta whoop old cousin James' old punk ass, because remember, he told him he got robbed, and then when Roland went and found out, homeboy had a new car. So they give him the beating of his life. I tell you, Meech was so into it, like, didn't you just get shot 3 times? And he was whooping on him so hard, Terry had to tell him to stop because he's busted a stitch, he's bleeding. He knew better. And that was an ass whooping that it was calling his name. It's like, James. And he got it. And they took his car and they kept it pressing on to the ATL. Now, Lucille is at home and she's talking to Charles and she wants to go on a church retreat. And he's like, the boys are going. And like, you know, Charles don't make no sense sometimes, okay? Because I get what he was saying, but like he said, Meech and Terry's not there. Y'all could use a getaway. You got Nicole. And yes, you do need to go work on your marriage or let it go, okay? But Charles got more excuses than a little bit. And she's trying to it's in Chicago. I don't know if I mentioned that, not that that matters, but she, you know, sends Nicole out the room. And long story short, Charles, he don't go nowhere. He stays his ass at home. To do what? I don't know. Well, we're going to find out what. But that wasn't initially in his plans. But we see him later. He drops them off at the church. And when he's at the church, here comes Sister Riley. That's Miss Guitar. Oh, Charles, you're not going? And she just all skinning and grinning. And Lucille is looking like, what in the entire... And she's like, oh, well, I had a song that I wanted to play for you. I guess I'll play it for you when you get back. So Lucille, she gets in her good feelings and gives Charles this big old deep kiss in the mouth before he leaves. And what did Mr. Charles decide to do with his time? Take his funky ass on over to Mabel's to fix some of her stuff. And this is when we find out that Mabel is a divorced woman. You'll know why I did this for later in the episode, and you wonder why some women, I am not saying me, but some women don't want to bring you into their home, especially if you're a single woman. She's in the house having a dinner just episodes ago. No, Nicole giving her a side eye because she know what's up, and she's like, oh, you guys have been so hospitable to me, and she just running her good game on Charles. And so he leaves because he don't want to get into no nonsense, and she invites him over to a party that she's having on Saturday. Moving on from Miss Mabel's house, we see Lamar, and Lamar was he in the restaurant? I don't remember where he was at. It don't really matter. But Lamar has turned into Debo in this episode. So he's running up on somebody single-handedly. I don't even know if he had a weapon or if he presented a weapon, but he's like, give me the money because I'm taking the money. I mean, that's not what he said, but he might as well have, said that. So he took the man's money, he ran the man's jewels, and then later on he's sitting in the restaurant with his cousin Alvin. And homeboy comes over, he all nervous, giving Lamar food, and Alvin's like, where's my food? He's like, you didn't pay for nothing. Well, neither did, he doesn't have to pay, because I think this is the same guy from season 1 that Lamar had beat the brakes off because he didn't have a doggone loose burger, but he got his loose burger and all his, stuff. And they're just sitting in there, and as they're sitting in there and him and Alvin is chopping it up, folks are just coming in and out, bringing him money, bringing him jewelry. He got so many, he's Mr. T all around the chest because he's got so much going on. Like I said, he's just Deboing folks. And then he starts talking about, he got everything, but he needs a queen. Child, no phone formed against me shall prosper. Now, my phone done cut off in the middle of me recording, and I don't even know where he was at, but we're going to piece this thing together, because what we're not going to do is start all over. Like I said before, it's good vibes. It's good vibes here. So we were talking about Lamar and his chest and his bling bling with all the Mr. T of the change, and how Alvin was, talking about how Lamar has it made now. He's got all these jewels. Folks is just giving him money. Folks is bringing him free food. And Lamar is like, but he needs a queen. I said, a queen? Where are we going with this? And if I said this twice, y'all just gonna get it twice, because if I can't edit it right, it is what it is what it is. But we knew where he was going with it when he said he needed a queen. Anywho, let's get back over to the ATL as Terry and Meech finally arrive, and they meet with Earl. Now, Earl is the same dude from episode 1 that Meech met up with when he was in Vegas, and this is one of K9's boys. So he's looking for that work, and there's a drought all over, including there. They only got 15G, and so they're looking for, homeboy to front them, and he's like, not gonna be able to do it. So he tells them about some guy, Pint, who could turn one bird into 2. And Terry's like, because it sounds like a fairy tale or some type of make-believe. But he's got Meech's ear. I thought that was my child coming in. I must be wrong. Anyway, so Terry's like, nah, man, point me in the direction of like a gambling spot. And he thinks that, they stick up kids. He's like, nah, he gonna win his money back. So they go off to a spot, and when they first get there, it kind of looks like a strip club, because the ladies are bearing it all. And this is Monique. She is Goldie in this show. This is her establishment. So now, while these two are waiting for Earl to go get Goldie or make whatever connections he needs to make, Meech and Terry, they start shooting the shit, and somehow we get into a conversation, I guess because we're in with the naked ladies, about women. And Meech, he's making fun of Terry, but at the same time, he's telling Terry that Wanda is, the best thing he could have ever found, best thing that could have ever happened to him. And then they start talking about, what up with your baby mamas. And I don't remember if that's the word they use, but we're gonna go with that. And Meech is kind of like, Lori's cool, but Mo, she's stressing over the whole Lamar thing. And Terry brings up something with Monique playing with her nose. So clearly this is something of the past. And then we get into that Lamar and Mo had a connection and they were both on that stuff together. And I'm like, okay. Because I was wondering what it was about Lamar versus Meech, although Meech is very young. Anywho, so he's like, nah, she's cool, because Terry's basically like, we need her help with this case, so we don't need her to be playing around. He's like, nah, cool. So they get introduced to Goldie, and some dude was in there trying to play games, talking ish, and Goldie hit him with the one-hitter quitter, and don't bring your ass ever in here again. And Meech is impressed, so he's giving a little flirtatious ways, and he goes to kiss her hand. She's like, nah. So she's making fun of them, talking about how country they look, and they from the D and blah blah blah, and this, that, and the third. So Terry is trying to win some money, because when they go in the back of this like strip establishment, it's kind of like a casino almost. It's like games going on. And what I didn't know, people had to tell me, is that Terry is king of those dice. So they go in the back, he's trying to step up to the table, and they're like, whoa, what you doing? And Monique is like, not Monique, Goldie is like, he want to play, let him play. And we should have known this. So he steps up to the table, he's holding on to the dice for a long time. He lets go of the dice, always bet on black. I'm bullshitting. Anyway, he puts damn near half the money down. He blows the money. Meech is pissed, but yet and still Meech lets him do it, I think, one more time, if I'm not mistaken, and he basically lost all of their money. And I could have swore Terry had said something about something being wrong with the dice, so I don't know, like, if you sense something wrong with the dice, like, you don't got to try to floss all the time. Sometimes it's just a time to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You get my drift? So the next day, they're reflecting on life, and Terry's like, why are we here? We're in a whole nother city. We broke. And they start talking about this pint guy, and Meech is like, I believe he exists because I exist. And Terry's like, you really think that this is meant to be? Like, this is God's divine plan? And Meech is like, you weren't supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. We both supposed to be in the ground, but we're here. So he believes. I believe in you. I believe in me. And we can do this. So he's basically saying that the Lord doesn't make no mistakes, and he's trying to get Terry on board. So later on, they're at like a HBCU that night, and Meech is impressed because the people in Atlanta are flashy, and we know that Meech loves to flash. And Terry is like, making me want to go to college. And I was kind of wondering, because it's giving me like Power Book 2 Ghost vibes. Because Terry, he could have been that. He could have been scholar, or at least that's what he was trying to do anyway. He was trying to be about the books and be about the street at the same time. But Meech had threw his book out the window in the episode because he wants him focused. He doesn't want him distracted. And I mean, they're in a whole nother state, so what can he do at this point anyway? So while they're there, they set up a meeting with a guy named Ty for later on that evening or the next day, I can't remember. And Meech gets a call from Mo, and she's, talking in code that the client is going to need those funds ASAP. He's like, okay, I got you. Now, I don't know how they want to give her any money, because at this point they owe K9 money, they owe Boom money. But I digress. And he starts asking her how she is, because, he left the security behind and da-da-da-da. And basically she's like, I got this. And she just kind of hangs up on him. Bryant, he's at work when his son comes in. I think Jen brings him in, and he's got no shoes on, socks black as hell. And Bryant's like, they stole your shoes again, sir, no. So the son is basically not fighting back, and Bryant wants to, to teach him how to fight back. And he's like, Dad, I'm not you. He's like, he wants him to fight back. And the son's like, I don't want to fight back. I don't want to play no sports. I'm not you. I'm me. Like, respect our differences. And you could kind of tell the son is the peacemaker. And as a parent, I was annoyed for Bryant myself. And I don't even like Bryant, but I was annoyed because mama don't play when it comes to the babies. And he's like, he's going to go up to the school and talk to the principal. The son, he doesn't want him to go because he thinks he's going to make matters worse. But this advice, Bryant doesn't listen to. So we see him later on at the school. He goes up to the school to talk to the principal. And the principal's like, do you have an appointment? Well, I don't have any time. Well, maybe after school. And he's like, listen, they're taking my son's schools. They're taking his cartoons. Dad, it's comic books. On and so forth. And like, y'all are not doing nothing about it. Like, nobody sees nothing. And so, baby, throw the whole principal away. So he's standing there with his son, and the principal's like, well, is somebody bullying you, basically? And as she's asking him this, the dudes are standing right there in the hallway. The son, he doesn't want any smoke, so he doesn't say anything. The principal's like, without him saying anything or seeing anything, there's nothing we could do about it. Good day, sir. And I wanted to punch homegirl in the face. This is why teachers and principals matter. Whole thing just really hurt my heart, and I was like, y'all was trying to warm us up to Bryant's stinking ass, but I'm not gonna do it. But Bryant, when he walked past the little regular ass kids, I said to myself, is Bryant gonna whoop one of these kids' ass? I mean, as a parent, I wouldn't have been mad, but you know how that goes. You can't put your hands on people's kids, because I mean, I've thought about it, but you can't do it. Hold on a second. All right. So at the police station, the head lady in charge is pissed off. Denise has somehow gotten in contact, I guess, from Mo with the DA and has accepted a plea of possession, and it's going to be less than 650 grams. And everybody is floored, including Detective Jen. And the head lady in charge is pissed the hell off. Jen and Bryant, what are y'all doing? So she's running down a list of like, you did this and this was nothing. You did this and this was nothing. So she calls up Timmons or whatever his name is. The dude is always in the suit. And he steps up to the board and they start talking about Big L being missing. They start talking about K9. But I think that this is the same guy in real life that ends up being on Meech's payroll. So we don't know what he's really going to do. But it's clear that Bryant's head is not in the game. So when he steps outside, Jim pulls him to the side and is like, listen, what's going on? Like, you're not here. And he's like, what happened to transparency? He's like, nah, that's police business. She was like, no, because your personal life affects your performance at work. And she's like, I saw you with your son. Oh, you eavesdropping on me. And so she basically starts telling a story of why she became a police officer, that her sister was being abused by a white dude and nobody stepped in, and he ended up taking the sister out. And he never had to pay for it because, privilege. And so she became a police officer because she wanted to protect people. Nobody was protecting people of, her color. And it sucks. And I felt it on this one that, I thought of it more in a parent perspective. You're a police officer and you can't even protect your own family. Like, you got to do what you got to do to get it done. And I felt that, like I said, as a parent, because as a parent, you want to do everything you can to protect your kids. So it has to suck from Brian's perspective to be a police officer and not be able to do anything at all for his kids. But that gets like Brian's light bulb turning. So Lamar goes and pays Mo a visit, and she opens the door, her little strap, like, I know you lying. Because I was like, this dude, like, really? And so I said, this is what he meant by a queen. Should have known. So she's like, did you forget you put your hands on me in front of my daughter? And I was like, right, exactly. Where are you coming from, dude? So he tries to go get sympathy. He's like showing her his colostomy bag, and he's basically like, life gave him a second chance, and so now he wants her to give her a second chance. And she's like, you scared Zoe. She had to send Zoe away. So he starts telling her, look, you got to bring Zoe back. This man, he wants to fight for his family. I don't know what family he's talking about, because the little babies is Meech. The little baby belongs to Meech, and Zoe is not his kid. But I digress. So he starts talking about second chances and how important it is to have your mom and what happened with him and his mom. And so she's got to bring Zoe back and think about it. And I got kind of irritated because before she finally ended up slamming the door in his face, it looked like she was kind of receptive to what he was saying, and I was getting aggravated. So we see B Mickey, and he gets a visit from Brian. He's like, oh, this dude, because he's banging on the door just like a policeman. So he comes in, he's like, listen, Meech and Terry's in the wind, like, I don't know what to tell you. And he's like, nope, this don't have nothing to do with them. I need a favor. And we don't see at that moment, we're going to skip to what the favor is. He rolls up on them 3 little boys that was messing with Brian's son. And he tells them to leave whatever the little boy's name is, I think it's Kevin, alone. And them dude's like, what you going to do? It's one of you and it's three of us. And B. Mickey works that ass. I mean, he whoops his whole entire ass. I was just like, while the other two friends, they stand and watch. They don't blink, they don't move, they don't help. And while I appreciated it, the mama in me appreciated it. I was like, I hope that this does not mean more trouble for this child, because while it was lovely to watch, he deserved every bit of that. I'm like, I hope that they don't, come back on his son and make a bigger problem than it needed to be. It's about to be longer than I wanted it to be. So Meech, they pay the guy Ty a visit, and they're in his house, and they're like, ooh, this is nice. And indeed it was. So they start talking about product. He can't front them. They're like, but you got it. So they ask about Pint. He's like, who told you about Pint? Now, whole time there's a dude in the background in the kitchen doing whatever he do. So like I said, Meech is talking about he wants him to front him 2 keys. Dude's like, not in the drought. And Meech is like, but you got it. And the dude said, in God we trust or bust. And I was like, I ain't mad at him. But they ain't got it. And he tells them to stop gambling. But what they decide to do instead, because he tells them about them losing the money and, he's trying to spark some up there. They go later roll up on Goldie, and her dude leaves because she's like, oh no, I got it. And so she's sitting in her car, but she's taking a minute. And that's why they tell you, ladies, don't take it a minute. Get in your car and lock the door and drive off. Don't sit, don't pause, don't word to the wise. So knock, knock, knock. Meech on one side, Terry on the other side. They grab her little strap, and she's like, what is it that you want from me? And they're like, we're not here to rob you. We just want an opportunity to make our money back. She's like, I don't have no game going on right now. And they're like, but I know you know where one's at. And they're like, yeah, but it's not for no kids. And I'm gonna need something in return. And they're like, it's no problem, we got you. So back in Detroit, Charles's ass shows up to Mabel's party, and I was like, and she's like, oh, I didn't think you want to show up. Oh, neither did I, but I needed to get out and blah 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 blah. So he's sitting there and he's trying to be he a little stiff at first in his Cliff Huxtable sweater, and then finally his song must have came on, and then he got up and started dancing. And he was just dancing on Mabel all night. He asked for some water. These two go into the kitchen, and it's like a lady in there, and she just grabbed her handful of Charles's ass. And I was like, oh, is this a swingers party? Is this a sex party? Like, what's going on here? And Mabel's like, maybe we need to go step outside. So later on after the party, Charles has stayed to clean up, and his ass is the only one there stuck with Mabel. I said, Charles, you wanted some shit to happen. The absolute audacity. So then, all their bullshit back and forth. And Mabel's like, you don't have to leave. And that's all she had to say. Charles, he starts kissing her. And then all of a sudden, swings around and she up against the wall. She backing that thing up on Charles. And Charles, he gets literally like a handful of strokes. And I was like, yikes. Handful of strokes. No protection. I don't know if he got embarrassed or whatever it was, but he zipped himself up and got on out of there. And I said, yeah, I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And meanwhile, she's skidding and grinning on the wall like, got that wop. I said, I know you lying. A whole time, Lucille gets back from the retreat, and who is not there to pick her up? Charles. Charles isn't there. And I was wondering because he dropped her off, but she pulled Sister Riley to the side and asked Sister Riley, are you sleeping with my husband? And I said, now, Lucille. But you know what? Let's proceed with this conversation before I tell you what I had said to Sister Lucille. Like I said, Sister Riley is the guitar lady. So she was like, no. She was like, I see you and how you be flirting and moving with all of these men in the congregation. And Sister Riley was like, now I'm a woman with a past. But I found the church, and I ain't been with nobody, including Brother Charles. And Lucille believed her, and she felt bad, and she had to eat crow and apologize to this lady. And Lucille, even if she was sleeping with your husband, she might not have told you. And this is why I say to you, sister, and this comes with age and maturity and wisdom, you never go to the woman. That was a conversation you were supposed to be having with your husband's raggedy ass. And he wasn't going to be honest either, but he's the one in the marriage, not child. And you was right, but you was wrong at the same time, because it wasn't Sister Riley, but it was Sister Mabel. But maybe you'll find out and maybe you won't. So as promised, Goldie takes them to the gambling spot. She's vouches for them. They giving fake names, but they kind of try to come in like they separate, and they start playing, and they winning and winning and winning. And then the dude was like, hold up. You dudes know each other. You got a fake dice. So he gives them another dice. He's like, you're going to roll this dice and you're going to win. If not, that's going to be your ass. So they're like, oh shit. So Terry gets, like I said, apparently they never told us this before, but apparently Terry's supposed to be king of these die. So he hits him and he wins again. And he had, basically said also to Goldie, and you don't bring your ass in here no more. So they win like in your face, and dude is like, get the party done, get scout, be out, done. He done had enough, because they done lost all their money. And Goldie is like, and don't you, because he's questioning Goldie's reputation, but they won their money, they back on top, and they about ready to go cop some product. So they take their butts right back over the top with some money. What it do? And then he like, there you go. And they like, that's it. That's what a drought gets you. So they're like, listen. So homeboy that was cooking in the kitchen, he's sitting over on the couch, and they're like, we know you, Pint. What's up? And so dude is basically like, listen, it's a dangerous profession that I'm in, and I have a special set of skills. So I can't be telling everybody what I know, because, this is valuable and I don't want to get hurt. And Meech is like, we from out of town, so it ain't no thing. We got you. It's good. It's all good. So he agrees to work with them for the price of a bird. And somehow they come upon this agreement. We're never going to say this is agreement, because this was Meech's idea. And Terry was like, that they're going to basically sell him Terry's car, and that's what I do. Meanwhile, Charles is at home washing dishes, and at first I thought Charles looked a little guilty, but then Charles started smiling and smirking like he was proud of himself, and like he had done something with his couple of strokes that he hadn't gave this lady washing his hand, when Lucille is back and she walks on in. Excuse me. So she apologizes, and she's like, basically, she wants them to get their groove back. Like, I can't imagine what you've been feeling, and I apologize, and I'm sorry. I just want to work on our marriage. I just love you so much, Charles. And Charles is like, he's looking kind of guilty in the face. She's like, you okay? He's like, yeah, I just had a long day. And I'm like, yeah, you have. So it looked like Lucille was trying to get her some, and looked like Charles wasn't with it. But then later we're gonna pop to the scene where Charles comes into the bedroom, and his towel all showered down, because he had just finished sleeping with Miss Mabel early with his nasty ass. I said, you old dirty dog. But I guess he figured, since she was coming correct now and apologizing, and they're both in the wrong. There's some apologies due all around. She turned him down at 3 o'clock in the morning because the thing wasn't thanging, because the money wasn't right. And then when she went and had the lingerie on and she was trying to get some, he was too busy arguing about her messing up Nicole's credit. I said, sir, get the kitty first and then argue about the credit cards later. So anyway, Charles cheated by himself. So they in the bed and they missionary position, and Charles is again another handful of strokes, and then he rolls on off her. She don't really look so happy, in my opinion, if you ask me. And Charles is looking hella guilty. And I said, now Charles, I gave you earlier with Mabel's ass, because I hope I didn't say Riley when I was going over it, because he sleep with Riley, slept with Mabel. I gave you earlier with Mabel's ass because you hadn't had some in quite some time. So, I gave you the early release, but like, Sister Lucille deserved better than that. So now we're over in Atlanta, and Pint is showing them how to cook. And it's kind of like making love. And so they learn, and like I said, they on top. And then, like a little bit later, Terry and Meech are having this conversation. He's like, looking like you trying to be back in BMF. And he's like, I never left. I was kind of on a break. And it's true. And then he's kind of, they give their little womb to the tomb. And he's kind of narrating that, kind of like what I said at the beginning with his quote, like, this is where he always wanted to be. So he took a little break and found his way back to what he really wanted. Meanwhile, there's a knock, knock, knock at the flunnery door. Lucille calls for Nicole. Nicole don't come. A bang, bang, bang. Damn, is it the police? Nicole still doesn't come. So she's like cutting up apples, making a pie or something. She leaves a little paring knife on it, and she goes, opens the door. She's like, who is it? And then she opens the door. I said, ma'am, you don't got no peephole hole. You can look out no window. And she looks scared, and she should have. Whole time I'm like, dude, it's like a human GPS, yellow pages, Google, like whatever you want to call him. Like he just always knows where everybody's at. And he's like, you Terry and Meech's mom? She's like, I am. And like I said, she looks nervous and she looks scared, as she should. And he's like, you know, your boys really hurt me. And she's like, you know, I can't remember. I think she apologized because there's not really she could do. And she kept clutching her pocket. She must have thought she put that paring knife in her pocket. And he's got, you know, the strap in the back of him, and she's like, let's pray. And at first he was, but she grabs both of his hands, so like, sir, and she starts to pray. Now, while she's praying, and we will get to Miss Lucille's prayer, Nicole comes down on those steps and she peeks and she sees Lamar, and poor girl probably almost peed on herself. So she runs and calls Terry. The guy that killed Darius is here with mom and you got to get back. So he gets off the phone and he tells me, like, we got to go. And I'm just thinking, like, you're all the way in Atlanta and they're Detroit. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, because by the time y'all get there, it's going to be too late, whether it be in a car, which how, in a plane, bus, train. Y'all not gonna make it. So Sister Lucille is like, Father God, we come to you today and we ask you for forgiveness for Terry and Meech, my kids, because they ain't shit and they shouldn't have hurt this man the way they did this man. And we come to you for forgiveness, and we know that you have a plan and that vengeance is not ours. Vengeance is yours. You have a plan for everybody's life and everybody's meant to be here, and it's not too late to be saved. Oh Lord. And yeah, I mean, she was praying her arse off. And I don't know whether she reminded Lamar of his mama or he just grew up in the church, but it might have been that the words hit his soul, because he was just saying early to Mo that he felt like he was meant to be here. He was getting a second chance, and he leaves. And I said, ooh, child, get your little Catholic cross thing. And Lucille closes the door and taking her deep breath, because Sister Lucille was still scared, like I said, as she should have been. And it's kind of lucky that Lucille answered the door, because had that been Charles, whole family would have been going, you know what, it's something about that name Charles, because Steve Harris, who plays Detective Bryant, his name was Charles in that movie. And she pushed his ass in that water. And now we got these Charles. So our Charles is not shit? I mean, I don't know. Let your girl know. So we're at the end, and Terry narrates that choosing the path is easy, but dealing with the repercussions is not. And sometimes your loved ones are forced to walk the same path, and you can only hope that they are ready. And that is where we end. So how did you guys feel about the episode? Get down in the comments and let me know. T and Meech are set up in the ATL, but it looks like they're about to run back to Detroit. I was hoping we got some more ATL action for the next couple of episodes. I think we are on a break, so we don't get an episode next week, but I was glad that it was a little less mystical with Mr. Lamar. Hallelujah. He was Debo in this episode, and we got far too much Lucille and Charles, with them not even, with Meech and Terry not even being in Detroit, but I guess, child. Now, judging by the conversation, do you think that Monique is going to take Lamar back yet again? Get down in the comments and let me know, child. I sure hope not, but that preview for episode 6, it looked good, okay? Good with a T. Yes, I said it. Anyway, like I said, get down in the comments and let me know your thoughts and theories, and join me back here, I guess, a week from now for episode 6. Until then, peace.